cancer, while other 17-year-olds were running around gang banging, not studying, fooling with dope, and God was silent. Black children in South Africa can't go to school, can't find work. They have nothing to eat, while some black children in Nashville won't go to school, don't want to work, and then expect to eat. And God is silent. We have no money to educate our inner city children who happen to be black and brown. But we do have money to wage war in Iraq. We do have money to send those same black and brown children to an early and unnecessary grave, wearing the uniforms of a country that will not make funds available for making geniuses and jobs, only for making war. This country will exterminate them and not educate them, and God is silent. I'm on my way to preach God's truth to God's people. And suddenly me and my wife and family get in a catastrophic car accident. I'm shaken up. My wife's shaken up. And we lose our daughter to death, and God is silent. What can we learn from those times when God is silent? First thing I learned when God is silent was the lesson of frustration. We can be real with it today. It is frustrating to want answers for life's most difficult questions and not to have those answers forthcoming. Frustration. It is frustrating to get knocked down like Job, strung up on a cross like Jesus, picked on like Elijah, and messed over like some of you have been messed over. It is frustrating to expect solace and instead you get silence. Frustration. It's frustrating to hear no explanation and to be left alone in silence to try to figure out for ourselves what we have done to bring on that feeling of isolation. See, in case you haven't tried it, it's frustrating to try and piece together in your own mind what it is you're going through, to understand what it is that is happening to you, why it is that you're feeling the way you're feeling, while wondering all at the same time where God is, what is God doing, and why isn't God saying anything? You ask yourself, being real today now, how did God let this thing happen to me in the first place? Well, I'm here to tell you today that that's too much for a human mind to try to comprehend. The mind is put in what I call a mode called overload. Like a computer, the mind in this mode will not compute, and so it leads to frustration. Look at Job, if you will, on his ash heap, asking questions and getting no answers because God was silent. So Job cries, "Oh, that I knew where I might find him." Frustration. Look at Elijah underneath his juniper tree, wishing that he could die, and God is silent. He says, "It's too much, Lord. Take away my life, Lord. I might as well be dead, Lord." Look at Jesus on Calvary with undeserved punishment, undeserved pain. And God was silent. And so Jesus says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And then it is in the spirit of Black History Month. Look at Martin Luther King, if you will, in his kitchen, late in the midnight hour, trying to hear from heaven, trying to get some answers, some response, with his family under the threat of death and the whole civil rights movement seemingly unraveling at the seams, and God is silent. That's frustrating. Frustrating to hear no response, and frustrating to be left all alone in silence to try to figure out for ourselves what we have done to bring on that feeling of frustration. That's frustrating. And so the psalmist says in Psalms chapter 10, verse number 1, Lord, why standest thou afar off? Why hidest thyself in times of trouble? Then the situation of silence is sometimes compounded by the naysayers. You know who they are, don't you? They are the show me folks. They are the folks who say, I've got to see something before I believe something. They are the haters, if you will. You have them. I know I have them. Job had them. He had friends who wanted to see rationally what the problem was. Show me. You know you've done something wrong, Job. I know that you've done something, so show me. And Job turns to the Lord, and God is silent. Frustrating. Elijah had haters, naysayers. Jezebel told him, well, your God is so tough, huh? You got to show me how tough your God is. Because I'm going to do to you what they're telling me you did to my prophets. Now, you show me that your God can stop me. Elijah looks to the Lord, and God, silent. That's frustrating. Martin Luther King had them too. They tracked him in and out of the civil rights movement. I'm sure he said, Lord, I'm just trying to help your people, because that's the worst thing when you're trying to help folk and they don't realize you're trying to help them and they hurt you. He looks to the Lord, and God was silent. It's frustrating. Jesus, he had him too. A crowd passing by the cross, and one of the thieves hanging beside him on the cross also said, if you're so bad, show me. Save yourself and save us too. Come down off the cross. You saved others. What's the problem now? You trust in God, don't you? Let's see what God is going to do for you now. Jesus looks to the Lord, and God is silent. It's frustrating. The haters, the naysayers say, I want to see something. Show me. Then there's the ultimate frustration that even if God were to break God's silence, we wouldn't be able to understand anyhow. Why? Because God says, my thoughts are not your thoughts. God says, my ways are not your ways. For as high as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. So today, the first lesson we must learn when God is silent is the lesson of frustration. There will be a period of frustration. But in times of silence, understand that God communicates with us. Therefore, the second lesson we need to learn today when God is silent is the lesson of communication. Now, in case you didn't know it, after you come to South Nashville, you better understand it. We live in a noise-oriented culture. It's noisy here, isn't it?